across the south coast, live from Solent University. You're listening to Solent Sports News.
Good afternoon, it's 4 o'clock. I'm George Venn with your Solent Sports News headlines. Southampton faced 13th place West Ham in the Premier League on Sunday, but all the attention leading up to the match has been on the head of recruitment Joe Shields. Shields is being lined up for a move to join Premier League rivals Chelsea, and according to football transfer expert Fabrizio Romano, the move is now confirmed. Our reporter, Kyle Poga-Elms, is down at St Mary's. Kyle, what's the latest?
Yeah, I'm here at St Mary's with the stewards and staff and now starting to prepare the stadium for Sunday's home game to West Ham. It's a rather gloomy day which fits the mood of every Southampton fan right now. Not only is their side not performing on the pitch, they now face further issues behind the scenes as head of recruitment Joe Shields has reportedly been snatched by Chelsea after receiving an attractive offer from the London club. Joe Shields only joined the Saints this summer from Man City and was supposed to be part of their plans to build for the future. Things are going from bad to worse here on the south coast, but our reporter Daley O'Reilly went to find out more.
Chelsea have snatched Joe Shields as co-director of recruitment. News broke earlier that Shields was told to stay away from Southampton Stadium and training ground as he was in conversation with Chelsea without Southampton's knowledge. He only took on his role at Saints 3 months ago after he left Manchester City's academy in the summer. And with an expectation that his salary would see a significant increase at Chelsea, he, like any other field of employment, has taken an offer he can't deny. In a press conference earlier, Ralph Hasenhüttl confirmed his move from St Mary's, but he may have to serve a 6-month notice period. However, Southampton could consider a compensation package to let him leave early.
He was coming in August, leaving in October, and absolutely not the perfect situation. People get driven from new chances, and we see this here more as a long-term project, and if somebody wants to leave in this short term, then he has.
Former Saints reporter for The Athletic Dan Sheldon spoke to us earlier about the toll it has had on the club.
Fabrizio is reporting that he's agreed to go to Chelsea. That's all done as far as Fabrizio's concerned. And I think we saw today at the press conference with Ralph that he's just reflecting the mood of the club at the moment. You know, he's quite quick to say that Joe wasn't there that long. He's had a minimal impact, which I think could be unfair.
Only time will tell how influential he was for the club.
Southampton are struggling on the pitch as well as off the pitch this season as they sit just 1 point above the bottom three. They'll be facing a confident West Ham side who are starting to find their form this season after a 2-1 win in the week to Anderlecht. Another loss on Sunday could place the Saints in relegation.
I think we've just lost Kyle there, unfortunately, but more on Southampton now, as they have launched their Saints by Your Side mental health programme, which aims to reach out to men in the local area who are in need of support. Here's Ollie Powell with a closer look at this new project.
That might sound like a happy crowd, but out of those 32,000 fans that attend St Mary's nearly every week, a quarter of them have or will suffer from mental health issues in their life, which is the equivalent to the entirety of the chapel stand. Although, just like that thriving Saints army, the community of Hampshire has come together in solidarity with the setting up of Saints by Your Side from the Saints Foundation charity to help supporters beyond the full 90.
My name's Paul Hedges. I'm the health manager at Saints Foundation. Saints by Your Side is our newest initiative. It's looking at tackling men's mental health and trying to kind of kickstart a conversation around mental health.
3/4 of all suicides in the UK are men. For this reason, Saints Foundation has specifically decided to target this demographic.
The target group, which is men which are 18 to 45, which is where suicide is the largest killer of men of that age. So we realise that mental health is a massive problem and the outcomes of not dealing with it are really, really high.
There remains a stigma around men not speaking up, whether it's masculinity or being seen as a weakness.
As we know, the stats show that men are more likely to suffer with poor mental health and less likely to reach out for help. So clubs already have such a large portion of male following, being able to break down that stigma. You know, they're role models. Football players are role models, clubs are role models. It's a really important part of what they do.
That was Sam Clark from Solent Mind, a Hampshire-based mental health service who help over 40,000 people a year. The programme has already been welcomed by members of the community that have themselves suffered with mental health.
I've struggled with my mental health for a number of years now. I was first diagnosed when I was 13 years old.
That was Harrison Reid, video producer at Smiley Movement and ex-Solent student, speaking about his dealings with mental health.
Really what helped me confront my mental health issues was just tackling it head on, realising that something wasn't quite right. I think it's really great that Saints are doing this campaign.
The club support is really strong for this one, and realistically, we know we've got probably a better chance of reaching those people that need it most.
If you or anyone you know has been affected by the issues discussed, head over to the Saints Foundation website for more information.
4 police officers were injured, 2 of which taken to hospital, after crowd trouble at West Ham's Europa Conference League game last night. Seats were torn out and flares were being thrown towards home fans from the section of supporters of the Belgian side, Anderlecht. 13 people have since been arrested. West Ham manager David Moyes has praised Anderlecht for their reaction to the incident.
For the club then to come out and say it, big credit to them, and obviously they're a really good football club, Anderlecht, and I'm sure they want to protect their own club, and rightly so.
Over to Isaiah now with a roundup of last night's Europa League action.
Following Man United's 1-0 win over Omonia Nicosia last night, the Premier League side sits second in their group, 3 points behind Real Sociedad after they beat FC Sheriff 3-0. Arsenal travelled to Norway and beat Bodo Glimt 1-0 to stay top of their group, with 3 wins out of 3 group stage games, a performance for which Mikel Arteta was full of praise.
Reece, for example, he hasn't played for 3.5 months the way he was trying and go with it. Every single player, the ones that they came from the bench, performing better or worse, attitude level, willingness to win, top.
Nuno Espirito Santo is the leading candidate to become the new manager at Wolves, after the club sacked Bruno Lage earlier this month. The former Wolves manager is now in talks with the club, according to Fabrizio Romano, after Julian Lopetegui turned down the job due to personal reasons. Brighton travelled to Brentford tonight looking to bounce back from their loss to Spurs last weekend. The Seagulls are adjusting to life under new boss Roberto De Zerbi after the departure of Graham Potter to Chelsea. Brighton now sit 2 points off 4th place and will have their sights set on a top 7 finish. De Zerbi has called for his team to work together as one.
We have to defend in 11 and we have to attack in 11. The first defender has to be Welbeck, no? And the first attacker has to be Dunk.
England have won the T20 International Series against Australia 2-0 after the third game has been abandoned today due to poor weather. Before it was abandoned, Jos Buttler hammered home 65 runs in the rain. Once it was the Australians' turn to reply, Chris Wokes bowled 2 wickets in a row. Red Bull have been found guilty of breaking Formula One's budget cap by the sport's governing body, the FIA. The energy drink giants exceeded the £114 million cap in 2021, the year they took driver Max Verstappen to a controversial maiden championship. Ex-driver and F1 expert Martin Brundle says this affects this year and beyond.
But it looks like it could be a reprimand or a fine. Will they want to revisit points? Will they be manufacturers' points or drivers' points for 2021? Other teams are saying, well, look, this gives you a head start into 22. The cars are carried over for 23. So, this is a big advantage.
The Rugby League World Cup kicks off tomorrow in Newcastle, with hosts England taking on the dark horse of the competition, Samoa. Winger Dominic Young will make his England debut after impressing in their warm-up game against Fiji. Later on, we'll have an interview of Lebanon head coach Michael Shaker and player interviews with tournament debutants Jamaica.
The Rugby League World Cup is kicking off tomorrow in Newcastle, a year later than expected due to COVID-19. England will be playing Samoa at St James's Park, 2 heavyweight hitters in the international scene. If I were to mention the nations of Jamaica and Lebanon, you'd probably not be thinking about rugby league. But they will be competing with the big boys this month for the highest honours in the sport.
And what a moment for Jamaican Rugby League!
It feels like a dream sometimes that we are able to do this in such a short time.
That was Jamaican prop Kamasi McCain, and here's his teammate, the fullback Andrew Simpson.
It's just an achievement of a lifetime. It's remarkable that we're here, and we are just here to enjoy the moment and take everything that we can from the moment that we're back home.
Jamaica will be making their tournament debut against Ireland on Sunday, with years of hard work to qualify for the tournament finally paying off.
It's almost surreal for me, knowing that years and years of effort put in by the team, both locals from Jamaica and the UK-based players. It feels like a dream sometimes that we are able to do this in such a short time.
For these players, it may be the only time they get to experience a World Cup. The team is really taking advantage of the positive energy the experience is giving them, and they feel prepared to put on a show.
Tremendous. The boys are getting well gelled. The camp has been good. The team playing to the structure that we want to execute on the day for the game. It's just wonderful. Everything is just coming together perfectly.
Lebanon makes their second appearance in the tournament after making the quarterfinals in 2017. They're being thrown into the deep end, with their opening game being against one of the favourites, New Zealand. But for 2022, they have an ace up their sleeve in the form of the current head coach of 8th ranked rugby union nation Argentina, Michael Cheika. The Australian took over in 2020 and is keen to see how he can improve on their performance from 5 years ago.
I'm not really quite sure what our expectations are from the outside, but we're looking to exceed our own expectations, or those expectations, whatever they might be internally, because that's something we want to show off.
Cheika's mother is Lebanese, and he feels a strong connection to his players. He told us how much this means for the squad and their families in representing their small nation at the World Cup.
Our guys they're all sort of family orientated. That's the nature of, I suppose, our country. So that just goes without saying. For example, I think when we left Sydney, well, the majority of guys that came from Sydney, there's so many family there, to greet to say goodbye to the boys. They'll come back in 2 weeks. You think they would have been gone forever. So,
with nations such as these, there is a big room for the growth of the sport, and the inspiration taken from the achievement of these teams so far should do wonders for the game they love back home.
So we have more of an opportunity to showcase to the younger folks that it is possible for us to achieve greatness. So it should, light a fire in them to strive for better, which will in turn give us better quality gameplay locally.
Both Jamaica and Lebanon will face off in their final group game on the 30th of October to see who will be representing the tournament's unexpected nations.
We're now joined by the man whose voice you just heard, Barnaby Page. Barnaby, tell us more about tomorrow's opening game between England and Samoa.
Well, yeah, it's between, obviously, as you just said, in England and Samoa in Newcastle. Samoa are considered the dark horses in this year's tournament. They have 8 NRL Grand Finalists in their team. And another player that they'll be playing up against is Dominic Young, who you mentioned earlier, is making his competitive debut for England tomorrow. Impressed against Fiji and Salford on Saturday. It's been a revelation in the NRL this season, scoring 14 tries in 22 appearances. And it's going to be a great way to start off a brilliant festival of rugby over the next 3 weeks.
Continuing with rugby, England's Women's Rugby World Cup campaign continues in New Zealand tomorrow as they face France. England are favourite to lift the prestigious trophy as Claudia MacDonald currently leads the scoring in the tournament. The star scrum half believes England have what it takes to win the competition.
Rugby is such a game of imperfection. There's as much as you can control what you're doing. There's a team that's trying to disrupt absolutely everything that you're doing on the pitch. I certainly trust that our preparation for this tournament is good enough. We're confident that we can put our best foot forward, and hopefully that will be good enough.
And finally, in boxing, Savannah Marshall faces off against Clarissa Shields tomorrow at the O2 Arena. Marshall defeated Shields in an amateur fight before and has claimed this gives her a mental edge. The two compete in the biggest fight of their careers for the undisputed middleweight championship of the world. That's all from us for today. Thank you very much for joining us. Remember, you can keep up to date on our website, solentjournalism.co.uk.